Hey everybody, it's Fang here again with this week's Design Cinema. So I just got back from about a week's time spent in Shanghai at the expo, as well as speaking with General Motors over there at their pavilion. So anyways, I'm back. Still have a little bit of a cold left, so if I do cough, I apologize ahead of time. This week we're going to do something a little bit different. Next week we'll probably continue the video we started last week with the interior design of that kind of Fallout 3 type of interior. What I want to do this week is show you guys a quick painting technique using a photo ref as your color palette as well as value. And the unique thing about this video is that I'm recording this in real time. What you're seeing here is not sped up. I found one of the demos I did for my students that actually fits within YouTube's limit. We're gonna break this up into about 3 parts, but the whole video is about half an hour long. So there's no speed up at all that's happening. What you're seeing right now is all in real time. So anyways, let's just get to the tutorial. What we started with is an image I like. I like the color palette. I like all the values that are in the original photograph. So we're going to take those values, sample them, and bring it into a new painting. So I set up a canvas, sampled the ground color, which is kind of this deserty yellow brown, and then started just painting away. All right. So again, what you see here is all real time. I'm not speeding this video up at all to do this painting. And this was done in front of our students, our second term students, showing them how you could do some very quick production paintings this way by sampling some colors and values from existing photographs. All right. So this is the exercise I used to do. Excuse me. I used to do back in our center as well. Kind of the tower exercise. You guys probably seen some of these, especially from students out of our center, where you see this huge tower type of architecture. Because it's quite easy to do. You just do a horizon line and you just draw a huge giant building somewhere. And the result is quite interesting. And the best thing is that it's not that hard to do. So that's why we tend to do these exercises. So I start with a background plate. This is what I'm doing here, balancing the value. So it looks very simple right now, but the key is to keep everything quite simple until you start getting into design phase. So sampling the local values from the photograph. So I'm working in the third view mode, right? For those of you who hasn't seen the previous videos, I like to just press the F key about twice, right? Then you get into this mode in Photoshop. Now the camera I'm using here, the pretend camera, is pretty straightforward. There's not too much perspective in this view. It's a very flat shot, which also keeps the drawing a little bit simple. All right, but there's a little bit of perspective. You can see me erasing out the building on the base there. So it goes to a horizon line. Let me drink some water here. Okay, so the design of this, again, this is more of a painting demo, but I always like to add in some elements of design. So the idea here was that it's maybe another planet somewhere on Earth, or maybe just a distant future world, or something like you guys probably play games like Mass Effect and these type of sci-fi titles, which has very unique worlds that are Earth-like, but yet a little bit different. So that's what the design of this one sort of is. It's kind of like Earth, but not really. So I'm going to design a huge tower, this marketplace, out in the middle of a desert. And the goal is to try to make it look very, very big and somewhat photoreal in values and color. So here I am just designing this building. Again, these are done live in front of my students, so I never know what I'm going to do when I get into class. Whenever I start these, it's just that I know I'm doing a demo on painting. So the theme, the design is all done in real time, so you can see me going back and forth once in a while, trying to figure out what I'm going to actually design. And the cool thing about this video is that you guys are watching all this in real time, so you can see the speed in which I work, as well as just kind of decision making, which sometimes if fast forwarded, you miss out on. What I'm doing here is all design stuff, trying to figure out the architecture. excuse me, this cold is lasting me like 3 weeks. Crazy stuff you get out here in Asia, you know. So, speaking of videos, I'm having my wonderful staff here link all our YouTube videos together, so that way if you watch part one, part two will actually automatically come up, whereas right now they don't. So we're getting all that rearranged, so it should make it a little easier for you guys to find the other videos. But in the meantime, if you want to watch all these design cinemas in a very organized way, just go to our school's website because it's right on the front page, and all the episodes are all organized in a playlist. So all you gotta do is just click 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, without having to search for anything. So, but once the YouTube stuff is fixed, then it should make it a lot easier for you guys to view these. So here's again painting more of the design. I made a very long stretch shadow on the desert there to say that this building is massive. So this is about judging by the scale here, probably a 80 to 100 story tall building, I'll imagine, something like that. Which is pretty cool doing this painting, considering I just came back from Shanghai and actually had dinner at one of the, I believe the tallest restaurant in China, probably, in the building in Shanghai. You guys probably seen it. Looks like a bottle opener, actually. So pretty cool place, very unique architecture, very, very tall. I believe it's about 90 stories up where they put this restaurant. Okay, so continue painting, adding details, using the default Photoshop round brush. I want to give this building a little bit of the Middle East touch, right? Because we are taking place in a desert environment, so let's bring in some of the the Saudi architecture or just the Turkish architecture, those type of things. So it's not Western in a way, the way this building is designed and constructed. And those are design influences that you bring in from your research materials. Here I'm indicating some shadows. The sun is coming from the left. In the desert, also you're in generally very clean skies, so the lighting that's coming through is going to be very, very clean. You're not going to get a very diffused light, meaning that the sunlight is not traveling through a bunch of clouds, the atmosphere, pollution, etc., etc. So it's going to reach your objects and basically hit them very pure. A lot of light rays are going to hit your objects, therefore creating a very sharp shadow. Drink some water. So this building is starting to take place. I kind of like what's going on with the design. Excuse me a second. And again, next week we'll probably go back to the other design, the little interior, post-apocalyptic kind of interior, and show you guys the painting version of it. That one is a little longer, so I gotta get my editor to get that down to about 30 minutes or so we don't have too many YouTube videos. See, what am I doing here? Oh, I'm adding a gradient. I made a simple lasso, and then therefore I can add a simple gradient to it without affecting the details. I'm trying to make the value of this building slightly darker and then have the reflective light coming off from the desert floor hit the base. Right, just a very simple, subtle value shift there. Right, very simple. So if you blur your eye at this point, the painting is already taking place. And at this point, we are no longer relying on the photograph at all. All the values are already in place. Here I'm darkening the sky, so this is a desert environment, so you can see the sky very clearly. If you guys ever go out to the desert such as Arizona or the California Death Valley and stuff, you could actually look up and see very dark sky, very, very pure blue, which in general in the city you can't see because of the atmosphere and haze and clouds, whereas in the desert you can. So, and also it kind of create a sense of height. The dark values behind this building, the dark blue up there, will contrast very nicely with the top of the white building or the sand color building. So these layers, I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing. I think I'm trying to balance the value out slightly. Right. And sometimes, because these are live in front of students, sometimes students just ask some kind of questions. I'm just showing them some unique technique or something, and then later I remove it. So But judging from this, I'm trying to excuse me, balance the value.